Here we go again. So we're now on Online Services Hour, and building trades was pretty interesting with Mr. Charlie Mullins. What a lad he is. And would you believe that his aim is to have £100 million business? He's not only got a £20 million plumbing business, biggest ever, but he actually wants to achieve 100 million. Fantastic. I see Joe. Joe's joined, and it's the first time we've actually seen each other, isn't it?
Yeah. And do you like my hat as well?
I love the hat. I think it's really important. At the end, Charlie Mullins said he only came on the thing so that he could wear my hat, which I'll let him do. It's fantastic. Thank you. In fact, everybody should be wearing hats. Tina's been wearing a hat. Elaine.
Hi.
How nice to see you at last. Absolutely fantastic. And can I just say that, well, I mean, all you've done for the Rockers means that we've been able to get to this kind of day, so we really, really appreciate it. Again, so we're now on Online Services Hour, and Marianne, thank you very much indeed for coming along, and Cobweb, as you know, we're massive fans of, and we will be with the essential business. I've got a little thing to talk to you about that later on, but what I'd like to do is open up the discussion really with the fact that we've had a lot of brilliant tips, if you like, in terms of, because Elaine's unique in terms of a online accounting business. Marianne's providing the best kind of business information that is mostly online, isn't it? You know, through
right, yeah. Absolutely. A lot of it is in the hard copy too, though.
Yeah, and Joe's working remotely as a virtual assistant and has done all this fantastic work for the Rockers from France, where she actually got. And we spent a lot of time talking to people about, if you like, how they can actually develop an offer that allows them to grow that fits their personality. Does that make sense? Because one of the things everybody has been saying is that micro-biz owners can have got a big advantage over the big corporates like I'm in here at the moment in the fact that their personality can create trust with whatever service they're actually doing. So it's actually about how you can project your, you know, the posh word is brand, but I'll call it personality. How you can, you know, market online your personality, if you like, so people will trust in that as though it was face-to-face, like this. Can I try Elaine first of all, because you've got a fairly unique franchise concept, really, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I think that there's two aspects to the business that I run. Obviously, I've got the accountancy side, but also I recruit accountants as franchisees. So I'm constantly trying to balance those two aspects out. But starting online, attracting either both accountants and clients online to somebody that they haven't met. Yeah. And traditionally, they would have gone into an accountant's office and had a sit-down meeting with them. You know, it's certainly been a challenge, but it's about building credibility and building credentials. And the way I've achieved that, obviously, is by writing what I call, hopefully, informative content for small business owners to explain different things about accounts and tax. And as people may know, I'm often on the radio or in the press. So it's about establishing your credentials and your criteria, but also, obviously, because accountancy can be a bit of a dull subject and something that people really don't want to do too much. It's important to develop a personality with it. So, as people know, I probably, you know, they'll see me having a bit of a laugh and a joke, and I tend to tweet and put a few kisses at the end of it and things like that, so that I get over the real person. I'm not just an accountant in a grey suit who you might go and see once a year. You know, I'm around, I'm in the social media space. You can chat to me, you can chat to any of our accountants. We're accessible.
Right, great. No, it's lovely. I mean, and Joe, you created, you know, I mean, I fortunately have been doing work for me for a while, which I, you know, as you know, I'm pretty hopeless at everything I do. So you've got a tough task, but one of the things that you did really well was actually making the decision, I think, to create a niche around what you could do for the client by the name, a bit like Elaine's Cheap Accounting. Yours is Writer's Block Admin Services, if you like, and a little niche of writers. So writers know that they can go to you for these services wherever they are in the world. Immediately they understand that it's an online kind of provision, but they can do it. How did that come about? Did somebody give you advice to do that, or was it trial and error, or how did you do it?
Well, in fact, when I started the business in 2011, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd just taken voluntary redundancy from work, but I knew that I wanted to start my own business. So I started as a virtual assistant and took freelance work from people per hour, just jobs like formatting CVs every day. I was doing 10 CVs a day, for example. And then I decided that I was going to format my granddad's book for Kindle. And that's how I got into the author side of the business, by formatting his book. And obviously I formatted your book, and I added them all up the other day, and I've probably formatted over 150 books now. So wow.
Fantastic. And you've developed a community really of writers, haven't you, that through that as well. And Marianne, in terms of this, because I know this business information market really well, I think, and I think it's quite an achievement that Cobweb, which has been around quite a long time now, that you've actually, well, it's doing very, very well, isn't it? But you had to really change strategy, didn't you? What could you say to micro business owners about the fact that, you know, sometimes you've got to realize that the business model that you've got, if you like, isn't going to be sustainable in the future for whatever reasons, and you've got to make changes. What were the things that have made the changes to Cobweb so that, if you like, online being everything now, you've been able to survive as publishers and business information providers?
Well, I think, to be honest, our business model hasn't actually changed since the early days. It's not the business model that has changed. I think it's the rest of the market that has changed, and we're in a position where we've been able to maintain our business based on the initial principles that we put in place years ago. You know, that our information was only premium information and that people had to pay for it. Years ago, you know, with the advent of the internet, the view was that all information would be free of charge, and that there wasn't going to be a market for kind of premium technical information in the way that we publish it. We've held our ground with that, but I think what's very interesting is that we've had to move with the times in terms of, even though our information isn't available free to web on the internet, we have to develop our brand and develop the business's personality around it so that people can understand, without necessarily having to, you know, jump in and buy the information. They can understand what our principles are and you know, how our business operates, and the team and the people behind the business and all of the expertise that is within that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's not so much the business model that has changed for us, but certainly the way that we approach the market and the way that we position ourselves in the market, to try and make sure that people understand where we fit in terms of a publisher in a growing space for support for business owners.
I mean, because the three of you have never met, you probably wouldn't realize that in terms of this personality, online marketing and the things that you do, that you're all three of you are absolutely superb at blogging, if you like, and blog content, pushing over the personality, as Elaine started off. And obviously Cobwebs, EnterQuest, I know you're changing that now, but it was always one of the best things really for practitioners, I think, to read, and that gave total confidence in the information products, if you like, that you did. What do you? I'll stay with you, Marianne. What do you think if we're advising? And boy, there are a lot of people out there watching these things. I mean, it's gone mayhem Joe and I were a bit worried yesterday about what we were going to do when we weren't going to be able to tweet ourselves because we were busy with other things. We didn't need to worry at all. So it's absolutely fantastic. But what do you think about this? What would be your advice to micro business owners out there, Marianne, about marketing through things like, blogs or PR or press release? Do you know what I mean? In other words, developing content to go into the media rather than expensive marketing programs.
No, I think for us, things like blogs and social media is an ideal way of just drip feeding people with the idea of what your principles are and what your business personality is, and like I said before, what your expertise is. You don't have to spend a lot of money on marketing and advertising anymore because of things like Twitter and like you say, blogging, and being able to link through to, and also being able to become advocates for other people's blogs and information, because there's, you talk about the power of plenty, and I think that works very much in a social media and in a blogging sphere where you can actually, you can link through to people where you think that they've produced some content or an opinion that you actually endorse.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to spend the time creating that information, but you can just say, well, yes, I endorse this, and this fits with my personality or with my brand.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting. Very useful.
That it reduces the burden, I think, on individuals to have to spend quite so much time creating content from scratch. Our business is all about creating content, but it's different content. It's technical publishing, and it's legal information for small businesses and their advisors. But in terms of being able to then, I guess, educate people about what Cobweb and what Essential Business do, we can use social media channels and blogging channels to do that without having to actually spend more and more time creating that content. Obviously you referred to our blog, which we do spend time, but that's maybe one post a week. We're not constantly creating this online content, but we have got an online personality, if you like, through things like Twitter and LinkedIn and what have you.
Yeah, fantastic. And Joe, you're kind of are you developing new online services all the time? I mean, how do you do it? Because you know the things, the platforms as well, like people per hour and all those things that I'm now using in various things. Do you develop new online services for different platforms and various things as well?
Not really. I'm trying to stick to just being a virtual assistant at the moment.
Right.
Because I think if you have too many services, then you end up having lots of different hats, and I already have lots of different hats because I work with so many different clients. So I think a virtual assistant, it kind of encompasses quite a lot of services anyway. I do social media, websites, marketing, and obviously ebook formatting.
Microbizmattersday.rocks is all your work, isn't it?
Yeah, very short notice as well.
Yeah, they always are with Tina and I, I'm afraid. There we go. Yeah, great. So that's interesting, and you've hit a chime that came up earlier with Janice and Mary Cummings and various things. They said, learn what you're very good at yourself, if
Exactly.
you like, and don't move out of that what you're very, very good at. So that's really good. Elaine, I'm really interested from your point of view in something that I didn't really want to talk about, but I think I'd better, which is we better talk about using online, not just for the accounting services, if you like, but things like self-assessment and if you like, the basics, so that you spend the minimal amount of time in making sure that you're okay and you're legal and your taxes paid, which links to cash flow as well as customers and various things. So what would be your advice to a new business, if you like, about actually making sure that you're, if you like, meeting all of the financial taxation obligations of a business?
Well, I think it's very important, and picking up a point that was just made in terms of concentrating on what you're good at. If you're not good at numbers, make sure you get somebody good behind you who is. because there's only one reason to have a business, and that is to make some profit. Because if you're not making a profit, then it's not a business. So your income minus your costs equal your profit. And although, you know, there's a difference between making sure, obviously, you're compliant, but also making sure that you are, whatever you're doing is still profitable, and you're putting a pot aside during the course of that earning for the taxman. I always say to people, open a bank account up that's labelled, this is for the taxman and doesn't belong to me, so I mustn't spend it. So I think it's very important, and there's some simple things that people can do at the very start. One is to get a system going. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's something that suits you, but somewhere where you're recording all your income, you're keeping all your costs, all your receipts, you know, your stamps, your pens, your stationery that you bought, your trips that you're making to see people, etc. They're all allowable costs. But make sure you do that as soon as you get started, because I can't remember what I did yesterday, let alone the 6 months ago when I made a trip to see such and client. So get a little system together, whatever suits you. You don't need to spend a lot of money on it, but getting that done at the early stages makes it so much easier longer term. And then obviously use things like the online systems to register straight away with HMRC. I'm afraid you can't escape the taxman, and if you do try, they will catch you eventually, and then you'll be at somebody else's pleasure for that one. So, you know, they're really cracking down. It's not worth it. Don't have the sleepless nights. Register with HMRC, get either your self-assessment or look at a limited company. And in fact, I've put a little blog up today on our website, cheapaccounting.co.uk/blog, which gives my 9 top tips for starting with your accounts, and looking at things about sole trader, how to calculate your tax, whether you should be a sole trader or a small limited company. Don't be scared by these things. Make sure if you're not very good at it, get the right support. If you are good at it, then start doing the research to make sure you're compliant.
That's really,
it's not that.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, one thing I'm really interested in, as you were talking, I mean, obviously now I'm very old, and so I'm really happy to be anywhere at my age. So I'm really happy to have today and be doing all this kind of stuff. But when we started, Claire, Francis and I started our business in 29 years ago, we actually VAT registered from day one. We created a limited company, we VAT registered from day one, and I don't think Claire and I have ever regretted that, actually. I mean, it was, I think it was a good decision for us. But of course, it was very different then. There were like 1 million micro businesses as opposed to 5 million micro business owners, really, when we were starting off. What would be your advice? I mean, we were doing it. We make no bones about it. We became VAT registered right from day one because we wanted to give confidence to our prospective clients, which were like people like Google and Sage and whatever, that we were a serious business with all the professional indemnities behind us and all the kind of regulation. But what would be the advice today? Is that just stupid or not?
No, I don't think so. I always say it's not a one-size-fits-all, and therefore it very much depends on what somebody's doing. You know as well as I do that in this space that we are talking about today, you've got people who are operating micro businesses from home to provide maybe a second income to, you know, to boost the household coffers and everything, up to people who are, like yourself, starting off and dealing with larger companies. So I think, you know, I wouldn't ever want to give, well, always do this approach or do that approach. I think it's very much down to exactly what you're doing. And sometimes it's better not necessarily to start looking at it from the tax point of view, but from whether or not you want limited or unlimited liability. And that's always what I say to people. Yes, there can be some tax advantages if your profits are slightly bigger to operating as a limited company, but equally, you've got to consider, do you want to be exposed as an individual should something go wrong? And people always say to me, oh, well, nothing will ever go wrong. But of course, we can never really foresee the future, and we don't know, do we? So I think, you know, it's down to the approach of looking at your individual circumstances and working out. In terms of VAT registration, I'd always say to people, the question I would ask is, are you selling to people who are VAT registered themselves and therefore can claim that VAT back? Or are you selling to the end consumer, the people at home? and therefore if they can't claim the VAT back, immediately you've put your price up, and therefore will that still be competitive in the space that you're operating at? Bearing in mind that the VAT registration threshold is £81,000 now. So I'm afraid I haven't got a yes or no answer for that. As an accountant, I would also say it depends.
All right, fantastic. I think that would also probably chime with probably Marianne and I probably both agree that one of the important things is about making sure that the advice you get is bang on as you've just given it in the context of the actual business that you're running, and generic advice is actually very dangerous. I mean, I don't know, from your point of view, one of the great things about what Cobweb's always done, isn't it, for different businesses, it's actually given different bits of information.
Yeah. So it's not just whether it's it's not just the accounting issues that are different for every single type of business. There's a lot of compliance issues as well. So even different food businesses maybe will have different regulations that they need to comply with. Whether you're running a mobile coffee cart or a restaurant or whatever it is, there's different connotations for every different type of business and every type of business owner really, and that's what we try and cover in our information as best as possible. That it's not a generic issue, certainly for micro businesses. I mean, we cover over 600 different types of business opportunities with the information that we publish, and every single fact sheet has to be researched and written as an individual document, because you cannot just copy and paste information from one into the other, because it's not contextualized in that way.
Okay, I'm going to introduce Guy Haler from crowdfunding platform crowdfunder.co.uk, which will excite and interest me because I know naught about it. What a surprise! But that's great. So we're actually on online services. That's what we're doing, and so it fits fantastically. So yeah, you're in shot.
I'm in shot.
Coming in shot.
Right.
So we've got Elaine, we've got Joe who's in France, and we've got Marianne who's one of the major business information publishers for information that's bang on for startups, micro businesses, small businesses, and the people advising, coaching, and mentoring them as well. So we've got some great of it. And cheap accounting is probably the one of our favourite models, really, they've all been really important in creating the Rockers, which is all about power of plenty, which I guess crowdfunding is all about power of plenty. Can you just start off by telling us how it works, kind of thing, and how what's good about it?
Specifically, Crowdfunder, who I work for, is we're reward based, so we're the largest UK reward based crowdfunding platform. So businesses, communities, charities come to us with their ideas, and we're wonderful and wacky, and then we work with them very closely to come up with ideas on how to utilise their network and raise funds from the crowd. Most of the time that's by offering rewards that are tangible to the businesses that they're setting up, and then they go out to their friends, their family, their local communities, try and get their initial support to get the momentum going, and then once they've got that initial momentum, their idea is quite validated and they can start blasting it out and trying to pick up the average Joe about sort of showing them what their product is and try and get them excited.
Okay.
And what that does is it...
Elaine, this sounds like numbers. You've got to ask intelligent questions in a moment. It's all right.
What's really exciting for businesses, so we're helping them effectively turn their concepts into ideas and help raise money to take them forward. But if you're a startup business, you can actually use reward-based crowdfunding as a very strong validation tool to go forward and inspire other investors. So if you came to me with a really good idea, you put it up on our website, you get 1,000 people to pledge on your project and buy your product. You can then take that forward as a validated idea, showing there's demand for what you're doing. So that might help you unlock further grant funding if that's relevant. And we're starting to talk to a lot of loan providers and they see us as an opportunity to mitigate risk. Or you could take it forward and then do an equity crowdfund, and we're directly partnered with Crowdcube, which are the world leaders in that. So it's a really exciting space, and it's growing.
What about the question that is always, I would say 90% of the people out there at the moment, and there's a lot of people watching this, if you like. The one thing that motivates them is that it's their business, it's their kind of own business. They'd rather grow really slowly, but they don't have to report, they don't have to worry about anything, or loans or investments and various things. What would you say are the advantages of crowdfunding, perhaps, as opposed to that second stage, if you like, where an investor wants a share of your business and various things?
Well, we always say to people, go for as much as possible using the reward mechanism, because then you can hold on to as much as possible. If you're starting a business and you need investment, you don't want to, I've done it before. I've been involved in a startup. I will give away equity to raise money, but you don't really want to. You want to hold on to it. It's your baby. So we always say to people, do as much as you can in the reward space. Then once you've got that, the more that you raise, the more validated you are. Actually, it might help you increase the valuation on your business if you can really show there's demand and potential for what you're doing, and then go forward and get the equity. But it's really exciting, and we crowdfunder ourselves. We gave away 10% equity for £500,000 and raised it in 3 hours. So it's they've done well. It can be very exciting.
And the great thing about it that we're talking about here really is that everything is instant, isn't it? So your 1,000 validation is not like some long drawn out bidding process and various things like that. It's actually an online thing,
I literally just came from a meeting, and it was from a guy who's interested in partnering with us on a corporate level, but he actually ran a project to give it a go. And he said actually the thing that excited him most is his project was successful, the project closed, and an hour later the money was in his bank. So it's immediate, and it meant that he can just crack on. He doesn't have to keep filling in forms. He's straight into it. He's got the money there. He can actually go ahead and grow. He doesn't have to go through all the admin. It was really exciting.
No, that's excellent. And while we're on this, I'm just going to talk about sales platforms, online platforms. I'm going to talk about where do we see? It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's business information, whether it's accounting, whether it's e-formatting, whether it's raising funds. Where do you see things moving, if you like, over the next 10 years for micro business owners regarding what they get done from? I mean, a lot of people we know are really upset actually by VATMOS because of the fact that it's just an extra layer of hassle and people not understanding what they do, as much as the fact that they could do something, but they just so in terms of making our lives better, which was the whole Enterprise Rockers idea, what do you actually all see, if you like, for the future of online ways of doing business, whether it's from raising money, whether it's from doing your accounts, whether it's from e-formatting, whether it's taking some information that will allow you to break into a new market? What do we actually see? Let's start off with Joe, because you in terms of the stuff, where do you see things going in terms of providing virtual assistant services online? Do you think you'll be using more of people per hours rather than doing it directly, or where do you see it going?
No, for me, I think doing it directly with people that I know through referrals and word of mouth is a lot better than using a specific platform, especially with people in the UK or obviously France. I'm in France. You have a lot of competition from the overseas virtual assistants, for example, in the Philippines or in India. So for us, it's important to kind of set up relationships with business people that you want to work with. And I mean, I get a lot of business through word of mouth, and so I think the online platforms are good, and I do everything online. If I could go shopping, do my shopping online in France, I would do it, but I can't. So I think in 10 years' time, everyone's just not going to leave the house, to be honest. Everyone is just going to do everything online. So
Okay, great, lovely. Elaine, what do you think? Where are we going with this?
I definitely think a variety of platforms are really, really good for a balanced business. I mean, you know, when you're expanding, etc., not having all your eggs in one basket is always very, very important. I think equally like you, Tony, I'm very, very, very frustrated by the red tape that is put in the way of small businesses being allowed to grow, and VAT moss, or VAT mess as we call it, is one of those things that's been, you know, out of left field. I actually am convinced that the people who have introduced it don't understand the impact that it will have on micro businesses and their expansion. And I think, you know, from a more holistic approach, I actually believe that we must have, in either the remaining of this government or in future governments, we need somebody in government who really understands the micro business space. You know, not the big business, and not even the definition of SME, which, you know, as we know, goes from 0 to, you know, what's it, 250 employees. That's huge. We need somebody who understands the space that we operate in, and there's 4 million plus of micro businesses, and we need somebody in government now so that they can work through the red tape of real-time information for the first time you take an employee on. VAT moss if you want to trade with somebody in Germany or France or Italy or wherever, and that's perfectly easy to do these days. Or, you know, and now we've got coming up auto-enrollment.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think this red tape is going to get worse and worse and worse, and the amount of admin that small businesses are going to have to do, and the back office understanding an application and admin overhead placed on them will just grow, and it's wrong.
Okay, fantastic. Where do you see this going, Marianne, in terms of micro businesses? What have they got to expect in the next 10 years in terms of making their life better through online means?
Well, my background is in technology, and one of the things that I like to see at the moment is that with the development of apps and, you know, all of these new online resources that are available, is the level of integration that there is. You know, we recently, with our services, we've developed an API for our content, which just opens up our content to so many different levels. And, you know, within our business, we are now using a lot more cloud-based services where they have APIs that we can integrate with as well. So without trying to get too technical, I think that, you know, the fact that if you go for I don't know, a prospect management system or a, you know, customer relationship management system that automatically integrates with maybe Sage or Zero Accounting or whatever accounting package it is that you're using out of the box, where you don't actually have to worry about how those two things are going to integrate. So that if you get to the stage where you're having to use online systems to manage your customers and manage your accounts and manage your admin, that you can pick and choose which application you want to use, and the developers of those applications have actually done the job for you to make sure that they're all integrated at the back end. And I think that's something that is growing and that will continue to grow and just make life much more simple for people who are running business. And because you've got now, you know, rather than having 25 years ago a customer base of 1 million potential customers to 5 million potential customers, you know, the market for those types of applications is growing all of the time, and I think that's really good news.
I think that's a really interesting point. One of the things that you know, Tina and I have been really worried about, and the reason we've funded Enterprise Rockers all the time is because we've never wanted anybody to say that we're dealing with anybody else's agenda kind of thing, and we'll never get the power of plenty unless people trust that their network, we're not going to try and turn them into money, if that makes sense. But one of the downsides of that is that we are positive that there will be a small number of large organisations out there that will recognise that 5 million in the UK, and we are really happy to work with them, yeah, to improve their offer to make life better for whatever, and whether it be crowdfunding or anything else, we're really happy to work with the organisations that actually want to, as Elaine said, you know, and Joe said, make it actually easier for people.
But I think the beauty of the technology is that doesn't necessarily have to be the way that it goes. It doesn't necessarily have to be the fact that there's going to be 5 big businesses that control all of this. You know, there could be thousands of micro businesses that are offering bespoke solutions for micro businesses that fit in with them, whether they're plumbers or whether they're running a cafe or whether they're, you know, running a VA service or whatever it is that they're doing. So I think that, you know, the technology and the openness of the technology is making the whole marketplace open, and it's opening up a lot more exciting opportunities. With that, I must say I must go because I'm going to go and train the next.
Thank you very much. Did you see my glasses earlier?
Oh, very nice.
Google Glass. No, it's Google Glass. This.
You don't need that.
You said you were in technology. I thought you'd recognise them. Thank you very much, Marianne. Great.
Bye.
Guy, are you able to stay for a little bit longer, Elaine and Joe?
Yeah,
Probably just
Fantastic.
about 5 more minutes for me.
Just 4 or 5 minutes. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I just want to move on to Microbiz Matters Day just finally, really, because I don't know how much you know about it, Guy, but the whole idea is that business owners all around are actually giving 9 minutes to actually help another business owner regarding customers, or regarding cash flow, or regarding chat, just confidence, motivation, helping them keep going kind of thing. So I'll give you a bit of time to think, but I'm going to ask, because I know Joe's come up with a brilliant idea, and then I'll ask Elaine. What would you do in your 9 minutes of giving, apart from fantastically coming on this hangout, but what will you do to give 9 minutes to other micro business owners, Joe?
Well, I came up with the idea of giving micro business owners 9 extra minutes of time every time they buy an hour of time from me. So you spend an hour, but you get an extra 9 minutes. So that's 45 minutes extra for free for every 5 hours that you buy. So that's the idea. But I also want to mention the association that I'm part of in France here, La Dame de Fer, who support women in business in rural France. They are going around all their members' Facebook pages today and making a little comment on there for all the help that because a lot of them are local businesses, so they're doing their bit as well over here.
Oh, fantastic! That's wonderful to hear. Thank you very much, Joe. Elaine, what will you do for give your 9 minutes?
I mean, my 9 minutes always has to be about accounts and tax because that's the area I specialise in. So if anybody were to express an interest in having a Google Hangout on self-assessment coming up for the 31st of January, I'd be happy to set a Google Hangout on my Google Plus page and for people to post questions, and I'll try and answer them to help them get that self-assessment in for the end of January.
Fantastic, love it. So what can Mr. Crowdfunding Platform do?
I'd be more than happy to go and put it out there. If anyone is interested in crowdfunding, it's quite a big step to take.
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to spend 9 minutes or even more if they need it to talk them through what they need to do to run a crowdfunding platform. This is sort of what we do quite a lot of anyway.
No, but that's okay.
But in a growing market, we can't necessarily coach every project through. We try and work with as many as possible, but if there's anyone out there that really is a little bit hesitant about going for it, jump on a Google Hangout with me and we'll work it out.
Guy, that's fantastic. Thank you all very much indeed. It's lovely to see you, Joe, at last. Fantastic, Elaine. Again, thank you very much for all your help over 3 years now. It's our 3rd birthday today of the Rockers, so it's incredible, really. Thank you both very much indeed. Thank you, Guy.
No
problem. And thank you, Paul. Cheerio. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.